Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. And today we're going to kind of shift gears a little bit.
Yeah.
We're going back to 1998 to a place called Wheeling, Illinois.
Hmm.
And we're going to be looking into the disappearance and murder of a guy named Thomas Paul.
Right.
Now, this case, when you first look at it,
Yeah.
it seems like a pretty straightforward missing person case. But as we dig deeper into the source material,
Yeah.
it becomes clear that there are layers of intrigue here and a mystery that really, even to this day, is not entirely solved.
Yeah. It really is a case that kind of draws you in.
Yeah.
It starts with this seemingly simple disappearance, and it just unfolds into this really complex murder mystery. And
Yeah. And like when you think about some of the elements of this case,
right.
you've got this photograph that plays a key role.
Right.
It leads investigators to this potential burial site.
Yeah.
You've got the use of some unusual techniques like a portable x-ray machine. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
You don't see that very often.
yeah, it's like something out of a crime drama.
Exactly. It's got all those elements that make for a really compelling story.
Yeah, for sure. And what really stuck with me was the detective's gut feeling that there was someone else involved.
Right.
It adds this whole other layer of mystery to it.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that keeps you guessing even after the case is officially closed.
So let's start with the beginning.
Okay.
Thomas Paul disappeared on January 12, 1998.
Right.
His wife reported him missing almost immediately.
Right.
But here's where things get a little complicated.
Okay.
The investigation didn't actually start until a few days later.
That's a problem.
Yeah, a delayed start like that can really hinder an investigation.
Absolutely. It's crucial to get on a case like this quickly because evidence can disappear quickly.
Right. I mean, you've only got a certain window of time to collect that critical evidence.
Exactly.
So they eventually did find Thomas's truck.
Yes, they found it abandoned near his workplace.
Okay.
But there wasn't much to go on. No obvious signs of a struggle, no witnesses, no immediate forensic evidence.
It's like a blank slate almost.
It was a frustrating start for the detective.
Hey, bet.
We were really starting from scratch.
So where did they go from there?
Well, they started looking at people who knew Tomas,
Mm.
and one name kept coming up. Igor Lubziny.
Okay.
He was a friend of Tomas and the owner of a body shop.
Mm?
In fact, Tomas was last seen at Lubziny's body shop.
Interesting.
And when the police interviewed him, his story kept changing, which obviously raised some red flags.
Yeah, that's never a good sign, is it?
Not at all. Makes you wonder what he's trying to hide.
Exactly. So the friend becomes a person of interest.
Right.
Was there anything else that made them focus on Lubziny?
Well, there was one key piece of evidence that really shifted their focus to the body shop shell casings found scattered outside the building.
Okay, now that sounds pretty incriminating.
It does, but it's also kind of odd, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're trying to hide a crime, wouldn't you be a little more careful than that?
You would think so. It
Okay.
suggests maybe a level of haste or even arrogance.
Hmm.
And inside the body shop, they found another clue. A bloody rag,
Okay.
dated the day before Tomas's disappearance.
Hmm.
Just tossed in a garbage can, almost like the perpetrator wanted them to find it.
Like they were taunting the investigators.
Exactly.
Wow, and the blood on the rag, I'm assuming it belonged to Tomas?
Yes, DNA testing confirmed it was his blood,
Okay.
and on top of that, cell phone data placed Tomas at the body shop on the day he vanished.
So even though they hadn't found the body yet, all signs were pointing to the body shop.
Right, the body shop was quickly becoming the center of the investigation.
It's amazing how technology, even back then, played such a crucial role.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine an investigation like this without cell phone data.
Right. And then there's
Yeah.
that mysterious photo, the Menominee photo. How did that fit into all of this?
Yeah, that's where things take a really fascinating turn. The photo was found in Lubziny's office.
Okay.
It showed him with Tomas and a group of friends by a river.
Sounds harmless enough.
It did at first glance. But then investigators learned that the photo was taken at Menominee Falls, a remote area hundreds of miles away.
Hmm. And that changed everything.
It did. It suddenly became a focal point of the investigation.
So how did they even figure out where that photo was taken?
It's actually a pretty remarkable story.
Okay.
A DNR officer happened to see the photo, and he immediately recognized the bridge in the background as being from Menominee Falls.
Wow, what are the chances?
It's incredible, right?
Yeah, it's like a 1 in a million chance.
It really is.
So they had the location, they had the blood, they had the cell phone data.
Yep.
Did they find Thomas at Menominee Falls?
Well, they launched an extensive search.
Okay.
I'm talking 8 days of searching.
Wow.
Cadaver dogs, horseback teams, you name it.
A massive effort.
It was a massive undertaking, and unfortunately, it didn't turn up anything.
Oh, wow. So a major setback for the investigation.
It was, but they weren't giving up.
Well, at this point, they had a lot pointing to Lobzeni, even without a body.
They did.
They had the blood in the body shop, the cell phone data. Right.
This photo that led them to this remote location.
And there was something else that started to emerge, a potential motive.
Okay.
It turned out that Tomas had loaned Lobzeni $15,000.
Oh, so now we're talking about money.
Exactly, and Tomas was getting increasingly frustrated about not getting it back.
Yeah, money can definitely complicate things,
It sure can.
especially between friends.
Absolutely, and that loan became a key focus for investigators.
Okay.
They were starting to build a case, even without a body.
Wow.
But then in October, months later, another twist of fate changed everything.
Okay, now this is where things get really interesting for our listeners.
Yeah.
You're not going to believe this.
A custodian from the Michigan State Police
Okay.
and a friend were out scouting for a good hunting spot. And they stumbled upon a partially buried body
Wow.
in a densely wooded area
Wait,
near Menominee Falls.
you're kidding.
And what makes this even more chilling
Okay.
is that the body was found just 200 feet from the spot.
Wow.
Depicted in that Menominee photo, it was
Yeah.
Tomas. That sends chills down my spine, man. Talk about a crazy coincidence.
It was a remarkable discovery.
It really is. And I can't even imagine what it must have been like to process a crime scene like that. I mean, in a dense forest.
Yeah, it's incredibly challenging.
Yeah.
Uneven terrain, weather conditions,
Yeah.
the risk of contamination, it all adds to the complexity.
Right.
They had to approach it almost like an archaeological dig,
Right.
carefully excavating the site and documenting every single detail.
Well, and they actually did use an archaeological approach to this.
They did.
They sifted through all the dirt from the gravesite,
Wow.
not once, but twice.
That's thorough.
Yeah, and that thoroughness led them to those tiny pieces of plastic.
Right.
Remember those?
Yeah,
They turned out to be a key piece of evidence later on.
absolutely. Those tiny fragments really highlight why that meticulous crime scene investigation is so important.
Yeah, I mean, every piece, no matter how small it is, can hold a clue.
Exactly.
It's like putting together a puzzle,
Right.
but the pieces are microscopic.
And scattered across a forest.
Yeah, a tough job.
So they had the body. Now, did that lead to an arrest?
Well, remember, they already had a lot of circumstantial evidence pointing toward Lobzeni.
Right.
The bloody rag, the shell casings, the cell phone data, the photo.
Right.
But the discovery of the body allowed them to really delve deeper into the forensic evidence.
And that's where that portable x-ray machine comes in.
Exactly.
I mean, that's fascinating to me.
Yeah.
It seems almost futuristic for 1998.
It was pretty cutting-edge technology at the time.
Yeah.
And it proved incredibly valuable in this case.
So what did the x-rays show?
The x-rays revealed 3 projectiles lodged inside Tomas's body.
Okay, so they finally had concrete evidence that he had been shot?
Did
they know what kind of gun was used?
Yes, the projectiles were consistent with a .22 caliber firearm.
Okay.
And this detail became really important when they executed a search warrant for Lobzeni's vehicle and home.
All right, I'm on the edge of my seat here. What did they find? In Lobzeni's vehicle, they found carpeting that had been suspiciously removed.
Okay.
And even more damning,
Yeah.
they found traces of Tomas's blood
Wow.
hidden in a crevice.
So they found Tomas's blood in Lobzeni's car.
Yes.
Okay.
And when they searched Lobzeni's home, they noticed that a .22 caliber gun was missing from his collection.
Wait a minute, the same caliber as the projectiles found in Tomas's body?
Exactly.
Would he offer any explanation for that?
He claimed he had lost it while fishing on Lake Michigan a while back.
Okay, investigators weren't buying that, were they?
Not for a second.
And then there were those plastic fragments, remember?
Right.
Found at the gravesite.
Right.
Well, they matched perfectly to a roll of plastic found in Lobzeni's body shop.
That's right. A direct link between the gravesite and the body shop.
Wow, so not only do they have Tomas's blood in Lobzeni's car,
Right.
but now they've got this physical evidence
Right.
connecting the gravesite to Lobzeni's body shop.
Exactly.
It's a pretty tight web of evidence.
It is. But there's one more detail that adds another layer of intrigue to this whole story.
This I gotta hear.
Remember that Menominee photo with a group of friends?
Yeah, the one that led them to the falls in the first place.
Right. Well, when police questioned one of the other men in that photo,
Okay.
he refused to speak, citing fear of the KGB.
Hold on, the KGB.
Yeah.
What does the KGB have to do with a murder in Illinois?
It's a strange twist, isn't it?
It's very strange.
It suggests there might be something more to this case
Yeah.
than meets the eye's face. This man, he fled back to Ukraine the next day.
Mm.
and he wouldn't give police any information,
Wow.
claiming that he feared for his safety and his family's safety.
So do you think he knew something about the murder?
It's certainly possible,
Yeah.
but without his testimony, we're left with speculation.
Right.
What did he see?
Yeah.
What did he know?
Yeah.
Was he protecting himself or someone else?
Right.
These are questions that continue to linger even after the trial and the verdict.
Wow, this case just keeps getting more and more complex.
It does.
So with all of this evidence against Lobzini, what happened next? Did they finally arrest him?
They did. He was charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder,
Wow.
and ultimately he chose to have a bench trial.
Okay, bench trial. So that means a judge and not a jury decided his fate.
Exactly.
I wonder why they went that route.
Well, it's a strategic decision.
Right.
And in Lobzini's case, it probably came down to the nature of the evidence.
Okay, so what do you mean by that?
Well, they didn't have a smoking gun, so to speak.
Right.
No eyewitness to the actual murder, no confession.
Right.
Their case really hinged on circumstantial evidence.
Okay, I see. So you're saying they might have felt that a jury would be harder to convince with this type of evidence.
Yeah, exactly. There's actually a phenomenon known as the CSI effect,
Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
where jurors influenced by all those crime dramas they watch,
Yeah.
they often expect to see irrefutable forensic evidence, like DNA or fingerprints.
Yeah, like that's the only way you can convict someone.
Right. But in reality, a lot of cases are built on a web of circumstantial evidence.
Right. It's not always as clear-cut as they make it seem on TV.
Exactly.
So how did the trial play out?
Well, the prosecution, they presented a very compelling narrative.
Okay.
They laid out the timeline, the forensic evidence statement, Lobzini's inconsistent statements.
Right, because he did change his story a few times.
He did remember how he initially denied even seeing Tomas
Yeah.
in the week leading up to his disappearance.
Yeah.
But then the cell phone records placed him at the body shop on that very day.
Right, right. And then there was that whole thing with the missing .22
Exactly.
and his excuse about losing it while fishing.
It seemed like he kept tripping himself up
Yeah.
with his own lies.
It does sound that way, yeah.
And the judge seemed to notice those inconsistencies too.
Mm.
Lobzini even tried to explain away those hours when his phone was off the grid
Yeah.
near Menominee Falls
Right,
by claiming that someone else had his phone.
Oh.
But he couldn't provide any proof
right.
or a reasonable explanation of who that might be.
So it sounds like his defense was full of holes. Did he take the stand himself?
He did,
Yeah.
but his testimony only seemed to hurt his case.
Oh, really?
Yeah, his story kept changing. He contradicted earlier statements.
Oh.
He just came across as evasive and unreliable.
Wow. So what was the verdict?
The judge didn't take very long to deliberate.
Hmm.
He found Lobzini guilty
Wow.
on both counts of first-degree murder
Wow.
and sentenced him to 60 years in prison.
60 years. That's a significant sentence.
It is.
It sounds like justice was served. But it still leaves us with that question, did he really act alone?
Right.
What about that silent witness?
That's the real mystery of this case.
Yeah.
Detective Kirby, he always suspected there might be more to the story.
Yeah.
He couldn't shake the feeling that Lobzini might have had help,
Right.
especially with that silent witness refusing to cooperate.
It's so frustrating.
That is.
You have this case, and it seems like it's solved.
There's a conviction, there's a sentence,
Yeah.
but you still have these unanswered questions.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah.
What if that witness had spoken up?
Yeah, what would he have revealed?
Right. Could he have shed light on Lobzini's motive,
Yeah.
the extent of the planning, or even pointed to an accomplice?
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
It's a reminder that sometimes, even when the legal system, reaches a resolution,
Right.
the human drama,
Yeah.
the complexity,
The echoes of the past.
yeah, they can linger long after the gavel falls.
Absolutely.
Well, on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the case of Tomas Paul.
A fascinating case.
It really is. It's a story that has stayed with me,
Yeah,
and I'm sure it'll stay with our listeners as well.
I think so.
All the twists and turns, the chilling details, the lingering mystery. It's a reminder that even in seemingly ordinary towns, darkness can lurk. And sometimes the truth remains elusive.
Well said.
Well, thank you so much for joining us for another deep dive. It was a pleasure being here.
We'll be back soon with another compelling case and more thought-provoking discussions. Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never stop seeking the truth.